Right now, you are falling. You have always been falling. Every second of your life, gravity is pulling your body toward the center of the Earth at 9.8 meters per second squared. You do not feel it because the ground keeps getting in the way. But remove the ground, remove everything, and you would fall forever. Now imagine something pulls you toward a place where the ground never comes. A black hole is not a hole. That is the first thing you need to understand. It is not an empty void or a cosmic drain in the fabric of space. It is the opposite. It is the most concentrated mass the universe has ever produced, a point where matter has been crushed so completely that the laws of physics stop working. The entire gravitational output of a dead star, compressed into something smaller than a single atom, and it wants you. Specifically, it wants your mass, and it will have it. But what actually happens to your body, not in a metaphorical sense, not in a you cease to exist hand wave? What happens, second by second, to the 37 trillion cells that make up your body the moment you cross that threshold? The answer is stranger than any nightmare your brain has ever constructed. First, you need to understand what you are crossing. Around every black hole exists an invisible boundary, called the event horizon. Physicist Carl Schwarzschild calculated its existence in 1916, while he was dying in a trench during World War I, using Einstein's newly published equations. He worked it out from memory, in a foxhole, with artillery exploding around him. The event horizon is not a wall. It is not a surface. You cannot touch it, see it, or feel it. It is simply the last address in the universe from which light can still escape. Cross it, and not even light, traveling at 300,000 kilometers per second, can outrun the gravity pulling it inward. So what does crossing it feel like? Nothing. That is the paradox that keeps physicists awake at night. If you were falling feet first toward a supermassive black hole, one of the giants at the center of galaxies, with a mass billions of times that of your sun, you would feel nothing at all as you crossed the event horizon. No alarm, no sensation, no cosmic signal. You would not even know it had happened. One moment you are in the universe. The next moment, without any fanfare, without any sensation, you are in a place from which there is no return. But your body has already begun to die. Here is where it gets beautiful and terrible at the same time. Gravity does not pull on your whole body equally. It pulls harder on whatever is closest to the source. When you stand on Earth, the gravitational difference between your feet and your head is so tiny it is completely irrelevant to your biology. But as you approach a stellar mass black hole, one formed from the collapse of a single star, the difference in gravitational pull between your feet and your head becomes catastrophic. Physicists call this tidal force. Think of it the way the moon pulls on Earth's oceans, harder on the side facing the moon, creating a bulge. Now imagine that same force, but instead of pulling gently on an ocean, it is pulling on your femur, your aorta, your neurons, with a difference in force of millions of Gs between your toes and your skull. Your body stretches. Not metaphorically, physically, measurably. The atoms in your feet are being accelerated away from the atoms in your head. The molecular bonds holding your tissue together, the same covalent bonds that took evolution 4 billion years to engineer into something capable of conscious thought, begin to snap. Your legs pull away from your torso. Your torso pulls away from your head. Every organ, every vessel, every nerve fiber separates in a sequence dictated purely by distance from the singularity. Scientists call this process spaghettification. It is the most accurately named phenomenon in all of astrophysics. You are turned into a long, thin strand of matter, a ribbon of atoms still arranged, briefly, in the order they once formed a human being, a ghost of your shape, stretched across thousands of kilometers of collapsing space-time. This happens in under 1 second if you are falling toward a stellar mass black hole. 1 second is all it takes to disassemble every structure that makes you a living organism. But wait, This is where the story fractures, because what happens to you depends entirely on who is watching. In 1915, Albert Einstein published the theory of general relativity, which revealed something so counterintuitive it still does not feel real after a century of confirmation. Time is not constant. Time passes at different rates depending on how deep you are inside a gravitational field. The stronger the gravity, the slower time moves. This is not an illusion or a trick of perception. It is a measurable, verified physical reality. GPS satellites have to correct for it every single day, or your navigation apps would drift by kilometers within hours. Near a black hole, this effect becomes extreme beyond any human intuition. From your perspective, if you could somehow survive the tidal forces and remain conscious, time passes normally as you cross the event horizon. You would see the universe ahead of you. You would fall. You would continue. Time would flow. But from the perspective of someone watching you fall from a safe distance, let us say a friend in a spacecraft hovering far above, something completely different happens. As you approach the event horizon, your image begins to slow down. Light from your body takes longer and longer to escape the gravitational well and reach their eyes. You appear to move in slow motion, then slower still. Your image reddens, the light stretching to longer and longer wavelengths as it struggles upward against gravity, a phenomenon called gravitational redshift, confirmed directly by the Pound-Rebka experiment at Harvard in 1959. From your friend's perspective, you never actually cross the event horizon at all. You approach it asymptotically, growing dimmer and redder and slower until you fade from view entirely, frozen, in their eyes, at the threshold of no return. Two simultaneous truths. You are inside, falling. They see you frozen outside, forever. This is not a contradiction. It is not a paradox born from incomplete understanding. It is the actual structure of reality. Time is not one thing. It is local. It is personal. It belongs to the observer. Now you are inside. The singularity waits. A singularity is not a place you can point to on a map. It is a location where the curvature of spacetime becomes mathematically infinite, where the equations physicists use to describe reality produce answers that are not just wrong, but meaningless. Divide by zero. The laws of physics do not break down at the singularity. They evaporate. General relativity, quantum mechanics, every verified framework humans have ever constructed to describe how matter and energy behave, none of them can tell you what exists at that point. The Penrose-Hawking singularity theorems, published jointly by Roger Penrose and Stephen Hawking between 1965 and 1970, proved mathematically that if general relativity is correct, singularities must exist. They are not theoretical artifacts. They are structural features of the universe. Penrose received the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2020, in part for this work. What awaits your atoms at the singularity is genuinely unknown. And that is not a failure. That is an invitation. Because here is the thing about falling into a black hole that no diagram or textbook ever quite captures. You are not being destroyed by something alien or hostile. You are being returned. Every atom in your body was forged inside a star. The carbon in your cells, the iron in your blood, the calcium in the bones that are currently being stretched into a ribbon of matter. All of it was assembled inside stellar furnaces that eventually collapsed and exploded, seeding the universe with the ingredients for planets, oceans, and eventually, you. A black hole is the inverse of that process. A star gives. A black hole takes back. Your atoms do not disappear. Matter and energy cannot be created or destroyed. The information that makes up your body, every bond, every charge, every quantum state, must be preserved somewhere. This is the information paradox, posed by Stephen Hawking in 1974, and it remains one of the deepest unsolved problems in theoretical physics. Even at the singularity, even beyond the event horizon, the universe is still accounting for you. You are not erased. You are archived. And from the outside, the black hole itself will eventually end. Hawking radiation, a quantum mechanical process by which black holes slowly bleed energy into the universe, means that every black hole, given enough time, will evaporate completely. A stellar mass black hole will take longer than the current age of the universe to vanish. A supermassive one, at the center of your galaxy, will last for 10 to the power of 100 years, a number so large it makes the age of the universe look like a rounding error. But it will end. And when it does, something emerges. What that something is, no one knows yet. Right now, you are falling. You have always been falling. Every second of your existence, gravity is pulling you towards something denser, hotter, more absolute than anything your nervous system was built to comprehend. You do not feel it because the ground keeps getting in the way. But the ground will not always be there. And when it is not, when every layer of protection between you and the raw mathematics of the universe finally gives way, you will not be destroyed. You will be translated into something the universe has not yet decided to show us.